What is going on? I know we are live about half an hour earlier than what's scheduled, so apologies for that. At first, I thought it was just going to be Randy and I tonight for a while, and I asked Randy earlier in the day if we could switch to a 9 o'clock start time, and here we are at 9 p.m. Joining us for a fun evening of wrestling discussion, which will probably come with a couple of rants and some hot takes and then some, is Jer from the Dark Match Drive. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. How about you?
Fuck winter. I'm done already.
It's like +1 still here.
We had an ice storm up here this week. I don't know how bad you guys got it, but like it killed everything up here. It sucked.
It snowed a little bit here, but yeah, it's nothing bad.
Also joining us tonight, he is the former host of the Rick and Morty fan show here on the channel. Speaking of which, we haven't talked on air about Rick and Morty since everything sort of went to hell with what happened there. Am I understanding it right in terms of they had to cast new voices for the two main characters of the show? And if that's true, how, like, have you heard the new voices? Are they close, or is it like a noticeable difference?
Honestly, so that is what happened. Justin Roiland got caught up in a little bit of a scandal, and it was one of those things where no one really knows what happened now, because I think they kind of settled. But it's, you know, a lot of people are going all crazy, like, oh, he didn't get proven guilty, and, you know, from what's been put out there, he was kind of weird around the office to people as well. So they were, you know, they got rid of him. And the new voice actors, honestly, I've heard people just on TikTok who sound more like the original voices, but I don't know, it hasn't bothered me at all. The season's been amazing. They just did episode 10, and I don't know if this season is going more than 10 episodes, because it was rumored it was going to be 14, but I think it's been an amazing season, been hilarious. I've laughed out loud most episodes. So I don't know. To me, it's firing on all cylinders without Justin Roiland, who you have to acknowledge helped create the series and was a big driving force behind the show being created, but it's moving along just fine without him as far as I'm concerned.
I know up here in Canada anyways, when we'd wait for new episodes of Dragon Ball Z to come on YTV, we had some voice actor changes, and I don't know what the reason for that was, because if you were watching it in the US, you still got the traditional voices, but like at one point in time, they're broadcasting like the Cell Saga up in Canada, and Dende, whoever voiced Dende, is clearly playing Gohan at some point, and it's like you hear Dende's voice come out of Gohan. It just drove me up the fucking wall as a kid. I don't know if it bothered me now, and I'm assuming it's not like to that extreme, but I guess when you follow something for so long and you get used to something looking a certain way or sounding a certain way, it can be jarring, the change. But it sounds like it's been met with mixed reviews, but not anything too bad. So if they got away with being able to change the voice actors and people are still satisfied, then kudos to them. I just know that's definitely a hard obstacle to overcome.
And Mr. Poopy Asshole returned.
Yep, he did. Yeah, it's just like anything else. It's like anything else in any fandom where, if you go on Facebook, it sounds like it's all going to hell and, it's going to be canceled after this season because nobody likes it. But then when you go and you talk to your regular friends about it, they're like, oh man, the season's been great. And you're like, oh, I see. It's just the lousy assholes that spend all their day on Facebook commenting on multiple things. Hayden Christensen sucks. Hayden Christensen sucks. Wasting hours of their day bashing Hayden Christensen online. Like I do. I'm trying to say I'm also one of those people, just only for that one thing.
That's that Hayden guy you like, right?
Yeah. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely elements of, those that spend more time on social media feeling one way about one thing, and those that don't feeling maybe not necessarily another way, but far less extreme, regardless of which side of the fence that they're on. We're going to talk some wrestling tonight, so let's dive into AEW, guys. Let's talk some AEW and what's going on there. I guess the landscape of it would be, they have a rights deal that's coming up at the end of next year. WrestleDomics reported that their new TV deal is going to have to be in the $140 million range to make the company profitable. And I think that's also taken into fact that they would lose, more than likely lose pay-per-view buys in a TV deal, which would make sense. So, you have that. Obviously, I don't want to spend too much time on Brawl Out because God knows we've talked about it enough here. Sorry, I'm trying to edit on the go here. Apologies, guys. But I think, how about we start here? How does everybody feel about the current AEW product? Just feel free to chime in.
That's good.
I'm already loaded up for this one because I talk about it all the time online. I feel like a lot of people are like, AEW storylines aren't as good. AEW is like they got lots of flippy stuff going on. There's lots of matches that are based on gymnastics and stuff like that. And they're angry about the product because it's not like when it first started and it was new and exciting. I think most of the people that are really upset about that, from what I get from their description, they want AEW to be more like WWE and have a lot of storylines that are really easy to follow. WWE has 4 or 5 things going on all their shows, and every week there's something adds that story. Every week there's something from the Bloodline, there's something from Gunther's title reign, there's something with Cody. There's always these storylines always have an episode every week on the television show. And I think everybody wants AEW to be like that. But AEW itself wants to be more like wrestling in the 80s or wrestling in Japan, where you understand that these four guys are in a faction, and they have a match scheduled this week, just like a hockey team has a match scheduled this week. This guy and this guy are facing. They're equal in the rankings. They're equal parts of their career, and they're fighting that week. It doesn't have to be because I don't like this guy or this guy's manager put me down, or guys just wrestle because that's a wrestling card that was put on this week, which is kind of what they want to do. And that's how it is in Japan. In Japan, there's not always, like, the guy didn't always say something bad about the other guy's mom. Like, or it's not always based on the story led these guys to fight. I like that. I think a lot of people who watch all sorts of wrestling like that, I think people who generally just watch WWE are like, well, that's stupid. There's no storyline between it. Which, honestly, I can see both sides. It makes sense. I'm a person who came from just watching WWE for a long time. That guy down there got me into a lot of other stuff. But, I do also watch a lot of older wrestling, and there wasn't always a story. There was sometimes it was like, oh, we fucking hate these. We hate this tag team. Oh, here comes out the good tag team, and they're wrestling. Why are they wrestling? Because they were scheduled on the card that night to wrestle each other. That's why. That's the reason. The reason is, the manager put the card up on the wall, and these guys were fighting each other. Like, we know we like these guys. They're good guys. We know we like these guys. There's bad guys. They do have the MJF thing going. They do have stories. Anyone that says there's no credible stories to AEW is probably not actually watching AEW. But AEW wants to be different than WWE, and they are. And I like it. It's probably not going to reach a lot of the WWE fans in the same way that they're used to, and so they are probably not moving over, which is not good for the product. Like, they could probably try to be WWE light and maybe attract more fans in that way, but they seem to be content with what they're doing. It's what that guy over there likes to be doing, not Sean. You can duck your head. That curly-haired guy over there, that's what he likes, and I don't know, he's got lots of money, so I'm not too worried about it. The TV deal is really big, though, so I don't really pay too much attention to the news because I don't want to read stuff I don't know is true. But that TV deal is going to be really big. And that's my opening rant.
Oh. Well, for me, I was going to say, for me, I've enjoyed AEW from day one. They've had some really good storylines. And if anybody wasn't paying attention to Hangman and Kenny Omega when all that was going on, when Hangman finally won the title, if you weren't paying attention to that storyline and you weren't hooked, then you just clearly don't like wrestling, because that was a great story. The slow burn, something that we hadn't had in forever, is a slow burn, because WWE likes to just give us bam, 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 bam. Just, it's okay. Feud's over in a month, on to the next. This one took years, and I like that. Currently, the wrestling has been amazing. The Continental Classic, chef's kiss. That is something I need in my life, period, every year, because the match quality we're getting in these different and just having these different guys that normally don't go against each other, and oh god, it's so amazing. Just like earlier tonight, watching Roosh and Swerve go at it, that was a great match. I loved it. I think there's a few things that
no spoilers. The results for the matches, guys.
I just saying it was a good match. That's all I'm saying. But I mean, I have a few nitpicks, just because I feel like there's certain things they're not doing well that they need to really focus on next year. And I know we'll get into that. But other than that, I don't really have any gripes. But I mean, my biggest gripe is the fact that the women aren't featured as much as they should, and they have a lot of great talent on that roster that's going to waste right now. But like I said, we'll get more into it.
Jer, how about you, man? Where you stand on the current AEW product?
I think Karen hit the nail on the head. fans have been conditioned to WWE style of television and wrestling in general for the past 20 years with zero competition. There was WWE style, and that was it. Some people watched before 2001 and had a different taste of pro wrestling. And then it reached a point where WWE's ratings were in the tank and barely anyone was watching WWE. So AEW comes along and they decide to present a different type of pro wrestling product. They're not at their best when they're trying to emulate WWE. They're at their best with stuff like the Continental Classic. They know that they are not going to have the name value of WWE talent. You know, you walk down the street and say, "Hey, do you know who Roman Reigns is?" And everyone's like, "Who?" But on the internet, people consider WWE as, how would I put it? What pro wrestling should be, because it's all they've known. AEW presents something different. I mean, okay, the devil angle, they kind of stretched it a little bit much. Okay, whatever, that's fine. In-ring content, I mean, I posted in our chat last week the amount of in-ring content that AEW puts out compared to WWE with an equal amount of hours per week of wrestling. There's 5 hours per wrestling for each company per week, and AEW puts out considerably more in-ring content because it is a strength. WWE will sometimes do that, but not nearly as much. I mean, we looked at the numbers for Raw. I mean, there was 50 minutes of in-ring content, for like 45 minutes of in-ring content in a 3-hour show. That is inexcusable. Like, it's just not. And so to improve AEW, they need to do less, try to be like WWE stuff, and more lean into the things they do differently. The Christian and Edge, Adam Copeland match from 2 weeks ago was not your typical Edge WWE match that we saw with Luchasaurus a month ago. Why? Because Christian works an AEW style. He's worked many different places. He worked TNA for years. He's worked Ring of Honor. He's worked AEW for years. He knows how to work a different style of match. So Christian put that match together, and that's why you watch it and you realize, holy shit, this is Adam Copeland's best match in 2 years, because it's not a WWE Edge match. You take guys out of their comfort zone and you give them something different, and that's where they excel. So AEW needs to stop being like WWE, do more different things, whether it's, leaning into the Japan stuff or leaning into relationships with other companies or even the lucha stuff. They've got Vikingo coming out every week having banger matches. Only recently did WWE realize, hey, we got this Dragon Lee guy and we should probably do something with him. So do different things, stand out. And that's what AEW needs to do to kind of distance themselves, because they're not going to be WWE. They're going to be AEW. And that's okay.
I'm sure Matt's going to want to get in here with his 2 cents, but before he lights the room on fire, I think I'll chime in first. I find myself in a weird spot, and I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, where like my favorite active wrestler is CM Punk, but he's now on a show that I don't understand 90% of it and don't know 90% of the people that are there. So like it's a difficult watch for me. So I try to look at the Fightful report when it comes in, so I know when to tune in. I still prefer AEW's roster. I still prefer, from what I've seen in terms of matches, AEW for the most part in ring. Some of it's not for me. Like the Moxley fork shit. Like I know some people go over the moon over that. I just sit there and go, if I want to see that, I'll fucking watch Halloween. You know, Commander. You know, I'll sit there and I'll watch him bounce on the same rope 10 times before doing a move. And Kieran, I know we've done on a bunch of shows in the past. You pointed out on what was it? The Mandalorian season 2, some of the fight scenes where it looks like people are just preparing to get through that. That's how I feel whenever this guy's in the ring. I'm just like, it's not just him. There's more talent than that. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, you could literally walk around the ring by the time he does the move. And like, so I get some people love it and that's great. And if they do, fuck what I think. But for me, it doesn't do anything for me, you know, at least when, even though I'm not a Young Bucks fan, but at least like you take their matches against the Lucha Bros and FTR, like those are good matches. There's some of that stuff in it, but those are good, entertaining matches where I can still believe at least a good chunk of what I'm seeing. I don't have too many problems with AEW, honestly. The TV thing is just Hollywood, right? Like that's what happens, you know. If WWE does end up at WBD, it's just Hollywood. This is what happens. You get WBD and Paramount now might end up merging. They become a superpower like Disney if that's the case. And they can't really control that. Rights come up for everything: the NHL, the NBA, the NFL, NASCAR, and I think they'll end up somewhere fine. But it's the roster size, guys. Like, how many people don't need to be there? How many people don't get on TV enough? And like, I know Kenny Omega is sick, and that's recent, but that doesn't take away his use over the last year, where it's like, okay, 6-man tag, 6-man tag, 6-man tag, and I know you use it to save him, but I just feel like there's a lot of guys that aren't getting featured very much. And there's a lot of women that aren't getting featured very much that should be over there. My biggest problem with AEW, frankly, is the booking. I'm not saying I could be a booker. Far from it. I wouldn't want that job. I'd quit after a day. But I would love to see like someone get in there and be like the head of creative that's not named Tony Khan. I know it's not going to happen. But that guy needs to just not talk publicly anymore, and I'll go on about that in a bit. But in terms of the in-ring product, I still prefer AEW to WWE. You know, it doesn't matter if Punk and AEW had a bad split and a bad relationship. I like what I get for the most part with AEW, and I don't want to see them, you know, end up with the same TV deal and have to be not making money for, you know, another 4 or 5 years. I want to see them thrive and be successful. I think people that want only one option in mainstream North America TV are just fucking nuts. But like I said, I'm not an AEW apologist, and I do feel like some people are. Same thing with WWE or any fandom. It's nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be, but I also don't think it's anywhere near as glowing as some people make it out to be. I think they're somewhere in the middle right now. Like, I don't think you would be off in saying that in terms of like hot and coldness, this is probably their cold, like just the last 4 or 5 months. It's probably the coldest stretch in their existence, in my opinion. Other than the pandemic, no audience, obviously can't really compare that.
I have to, like, I agree with you there that it's a little bit cold right now. I think a lot of what happened in the first couple of years that was really exciting was kind of derailed by not because of CM Punk's problems or anything like that, but CM Punk getting injured and then them having to kind of put a transition champion and then come back and then have to be like in the situation for a title picture that they were put in there, kind of messed around with them being able to do anything. And then they got it back on track with MJF having his current awesome run. But I don't know how other people think. I know a lot of people love Samoa Joe, but I wish they would have a better opponent for MJF in the last little while. After having him, fight Danielson and stuff like that. Like I really thought him, being able to fight Moxley and beat him in, and beat Danielson and like all these guys that he went through were like all the current like high top guys, but I feel like going to Samoa Joe like hasn't really been promoted as a top guy in WWE before he left, where they didn't even want to use him, and then in AEW where he's mostly been an ROH guy. Now Joe's killing it with his interviews and stuff like that. He's awesome, and his matches have gone up in quality, in my opinion. But like, I feel like the name value is not the same, and so having MJF do that, I think has kind of derailed that title run in a bit for a bit, or not derailed, but made it not quite as good as it was. But yeah, I gotta agree with the sentiment that AEW has not been its best in the last 6 months or so, even a couple of years, I think. But I still enjoy the hell out of it. So.
We got to get Jer out of there. He has got to hop up early tonight. Sorry that we couldn't make the time and work out, man. Where can everybody find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Jamie Virtue or X or whatever it's called. You can find me on Facebook, Dark Match Drive. Plenty of wrestling content posted every day. There's currently a big argument going on about Jim Cornette, which I am staying out of.
Is this the lawyer thing? Is this the lawyer thing?
I don't know. It's yeah. I don't know. Somebody asked, why do we hate Jim Cornette? And it's just,
yep.
I'll stay over here.
I seen people making a big deal out of him and Punk. Punk has got like a whole team of lawyers, but one of his lawyers is the same as Cornette's lawyers. I just felt like, do you know how many sports agents and Hollywood people in general have the same lawyer as someone else?
Yeah, right. It just worked out. So but yeah, find me at Dark Match Drive. We got all sorts of wrestling stuff. So yeah, check it out.
Hey, you know what that means? CM Punk to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, right?
Perfect. He'd go beat up, the heavenly bodies or something in the parking lot.
Awesome.
See you later, guys.
Thanks for coming in, man. That was Jer from the Dark Match Drive. That didn't work out. Here we go. So, Matt, how about you, man? How do you feel about where the current AEW product is? And before you go on a Tony Khan hate train, just hold up on that, because I'll bring that up in a few.
There was a lot about what Jer said that I agree with. There's certain points that all y'all said that I agree with. Why do I think AEW has been lacking in the past few months? It's because I think Tony Khan has tried to grab onto it more now, ever since all the Punk stuff went down, to, I guess, flaunt some form of power in a sense and control things. And I think when he's not involved like he has been, this show's more fluid. I'm not saying there's not good matches, because there are, but that's not Tony Khan. That's the performers in the ring. So I'm going to maintain my point that I think he rears his ugly little head way too often in the product, and it's like and now he feels like he has to mimic WWE because he's scared. He's scared of the ratings that he thought he was going to be able to garner as they got more popular, and they're not there yet. And I think that eats at him. And I think that he does that. And like I said, that whole Punk, I'm scared. I mean, that just did it for me. I'm scared. Mr. Punk is going to beat my ass. And, you know, ever since then, that's when it started to go down. And in my opinion, he just needs to back the hell off and let the guys tell the stories they are so great at doing. Your Daniel Bryans, your MJFs, your Christian and Adam Copeland. There's a lot of good storylines. And God damn it, let them girls wrestle. There is way too much talent down in AEW's girls wrestling. It's 10 times better. And they're going to lose Mercedes Moné. She's probably going back to WWE. Because
it does sound like they might have missed their opportunity.
Yeah.
There.
So it just back the hell off, Tony.
I wanted to get to 2024 booking ideas and where all of you guys would go with just any of the big players. And we'll get there in a second. But since Matt ended up going the Tony Khan route, anyway, I just want to say this. Like, dude is a billionaire and has endless financial support from his dad. It's a privately owned company, so I know people want to look at it like WWE, but at the end of the day, it isn't WWE. And if Tony Khan is comfortable with, even if in the next deal, if they still end up losing, $5-10 million a year, that might be $5-10 million a year he's willing to lose out of his pocket with the amount of money that his family makes. So I know there's people just want to look at it cut and dry like that in terms of like the behind the scenes financial shit. But it's not. It's just a completely different situation.
I mean, like I said real quick, the Jags didn't start getting better again till Dad backed off and let everybody else do their job. And listen to Bill Belichick. Do your job. That's go ahead.
This is the one thing I get. Like, I agree that I think Tony Khan should have a 100% booker. He should have a hey, Bryan Danielson is the booker, whatever. Or it doesn't matter if it's an older wrestler who knows what he's doing. It doesn't matter if it's a current wrestler which has worked and not worked in the past, like a Bryan Danielson or someone who obviously they see him as a wise guy. And respected. So it could be anything like that, or a booking committee. There's been booking committees in the past, and I'm sure there is some sort of booking committee, but it probably is mostly planned by that guy. I do think that it's really like people keep saying oh, he's just this guy's just a rich guy's son and he doesn't do anything. If you look in the past, this guy runs companies and runs stuff. He's not. It's not like he's just it's not like he is a dork kid and doesn't know anything. It was like, Dad, can I have a wrestling company? He's like, sure, you can have a wrestling company. You could have as many wrestlers as you like. He has jobs in all of these sports things like that. He does do things. It's not like he's just a dork kid who's playing around with his action figures and he's like, I want a wrestling company. I want a wrestling company. And his dad was like, fine, can I have your goddamn wrestling company? We got to give him a little bit more credit than that. But when it comes to booking, yeah, he's a fan. he's more of a fan, and he probably is like, oh, I really like what they're doing there. Can we do that? And there's no one to be like, no, that's not a good idea. We don't have the right talent for that, or it doesn't make sense for this guy to be a bad guy because this might happen later. Those sorts of things, I think he needs help with it. But for people to constantly go online and be like, oh, it's just his son, he doesn't know shit about wrestling, is like, or he doesn't know shit about business, like things like that. You're like, he's run a lot of business. He's done a lot of things. It's not like he's done nothing and he doesn't know what he's doing at all, right?
No, like the dude's definitely smart. He wouldn't be where he is to some extent without having brains. He's very analytically driven too. So there's that. I just mean in terms of, look, I'm somebody who's definitely bitten off way more than he can chew on a microscopic level compared to him. And like, you do not have to be the smartest guy on the planet to know that this guy has bitten off way more than he can chew in terms of all the different hats he wears and all the different organizations. He definitely needs some help, and I hope that he gets it. I hope that.
But the question is, will he relinquish that? Because if he doesn't relinquish it, I can almost see AEW. I don't want to say die a slow death, because I mean he'll be able to get talent. There's too much. I mean, it almost feels like there's too much talent down in NXT that's not getting brought up, which should get brought up, and then they got that talent on Raw that's not getting used and just sitting there. I mean, so you're gonna have a funnel of good talent that Tony will be able to get.
I don't think it has anything to do with that personally, Matt. Like, I think, like, picture, like, I don't even know their entire roster. That's how many fucking guys they have, and I know their roster way more than the WWE roster. I think they have more than enough talent currently under contract to have.
I mean, I'm not disagree with you.
TV shows.
I just don't think they're using the talent right.
Oh, I agree
and
with that.
That goes back to Tony. The buck stops with Tony when it comes to that. And until Tony relinquishes that, and I'm not saying the wrestlers don't have say either, because I think that's where you might have been going, Kieran. I know they have a say, and I know they're allowed to dictate a lot of their matches. But then it's almost like the buck stops with him. And from financial and business standpoint, it should, but not in the wrestling world. If you don't, there's something you don't like, and you don't leave it to people like Daniel Bryan to dictate how a match should go, how something should be booked. Who's been doing this for God knows how many years? Who knows the business inside and out?
It's funny because he's at that. Tony's almost at that point where he is like, Vince McMahon or George Lucas, where like, there was a point where the fan base was like, oh, thank you so much, George Lucas, for making Star Wars, but stay the fuck away from this new show I'm hearing about. Or the same thing happened like with Vince McMahon. We're like, oh, Vince McMahon, he's the god of wrestling. He did all this stuff. And then they're like, but please, for the love of God, stop making decisions. Stop rewriting the script of Raw. Like, we're like, I love AEW so much. I love it so much. Honestly, it's if I watch both companies, and I just bought tickets to see both companies in the next 3 months. So I'm going to go see them both live. I love them both. But if AEW wasn't around, I'd kind of watch Raw. And, I wouldn't be super big into wrestling. AEW is around. I really love to watch everything that AEW brings out as long as I can keep up with the content. And Raw, I just try to follow Gunther and follow, I like Raquel Rodriguez. I like some other random people. And then I skip a lot of stuff. And I don't watch SmackDown at all. So,
because we know what's going to happen.
It's funny because, we're like, please, thank you so much for making AEW, but also get someone else to do some stuff. Like, get someone else to make it better now. It's funny. Like,
I
thanks
mean,
for creating it, but also stop doing wrong stuff.
I mean, that match between Gunther and Miz last night was one of the better matches I've seen in a long time on Raw. And it's like, where's that
on
content?
Raw?
Yeah, on Raw. That you see matches like that, and you're like, and that's those kinds of matches that you see on AEW that are so well told in the ring, and the back and forth, the constant, I mean, the battle. Because I mean, this just isn't. I mean, this felt just not a match. This felt like a battle, and that's what I think that you're slowly starting to see H's vision come to fruition, and I think it's going to be slow. It's not going to over the next, I'd say, at least another year before it's essentially Triple H's company to a degree and how he's running it. And I guarantee you, H doesn't book by himself. He's got a committee or people like Bruce Pritchard helps him. Guy with the long hair.
I don't think you can compare the two. Like,
I don't think you can compare it to, but I think he has it, so he's not doing it by himself. And once you have to relinquish and be open, and I think H is open, where I think Tony might be a little bit more. I got to have more of my grip on there. And once, like I said, I've been saying, the Jags, the team his father owns, didn't start getting better till they backed off.
But you
and
know
let
what?
the guys do their
That's
jobs.
Almost every professional sports organization, man. The ones that have the owners that meddle in everything, Dallas Cowboys, Toronto Maple Leafs,
Washington Redskins.
They always go through this shit. There's very few professional sports teams where if management's not allowed to do the job that they were paid to do, and you constantly get interfering with the decisions, it randomly goes well. I mean, as much as I don't like the way Tony Khan handles things publicly, I think he's a terrible PR guy. I don't think he should speak at press conferences. I think someone else should. But I don't think you can compare it in that contrast. Randy, I know you're a little more obviously pro AEW at the moment, but in terms of, before we get into the booking, is there anything that you would have Tony Khan change about the way he handles things publicly? I don't know if you heard some of the stuff about the Ring of Honor press conference, but like one of the things Tony always does is things are great, everything's are great. We just had our greatest run of shows ever, and I don't know if the dude's in denial, but it's gotten to a point where when he does these things, like it's become a joke because you're not going to get a straight answer out of him. It's all bullshit.
Well, and unfortunately, that's just Tony Khan being Tony Khan. I mean, I already know that in terms of Collision, Bryan Danielson runs the show for the most part and does a lot of the booking for the matches. He does help with the production, which originally was supposed to be Punk that did all that when it came to Collision. And then when he got fired, they had Danielson go over there and help out with that. So it's not like Tony's got his hands in everything, but he's got his hands in everything. It's one of those weird dichotomies where he's everywhere when he really should be just in one spot. I feel like two things that he needs to make sure he does is use some of that veteran presence in the back for booking a little bit more. Use Shivani, use Sting, use Danielson more. Since Kenny can't really go because he's going to be dealing with diverticulitis, it's going to be one of those things where if he's able to be backstage, run some of the booking stuff through him. Try to take this stuff off of Tony. Another thing I know, Kevin Nash said this on his podcast many times, is that Tony needs to get himself a heater, guy who's going to be the hard as nails, boss in the back that's going to not take any bullshit from anybody. And I think they've kind of started that because they have Danielson as part of their disciplinary committee now. So there's small changes happening here and there. Obviously, injuries is killing any storylines they've got going. So they're pivoting, and they're not making the best choices. Obviously, I think we all know that Cole was probably going to end up being the devil before he had that injury. It's a shame because him and MJF had such great chemistry going back and forth, and those vignettes were great. And now we have to wait until Cole heals up before we even know, and because of that, they've had to pivot. Now, did Tony make the right call in pivoting towards Samoa Joe? Not really, but at least you get a veteran presence with still a fairly well-known name, especially when it comes to Ring of Honor, because we know that's primarily what he did to help out the company. And his promos are great. He's great on the mic. He's got a great presence. The fans cheer and pop for him, which is what you want. But ultimately, I feel like they are slowly making the proper changes. It's just getting there. It's like, it's the whole hurry up and wait. We want it changed now, but we know that the way wrestling works, it's a day by day, week by week thing, because you never know who's going to get hurt. You never know who might end up getting, leaving the company or not being re-signed, or who becomes available. I mean, think about WWE. All of a sudden, Punk's available. Holy shit. What an opportunity we have here. But of course, now you've got some of the WWE talent. Their 90 day no compete clauses are coming up within the next few days. And you got guys like, Dolph Ziggler, who would be a good guy to have backstage for them if they decide to go that route. I know Danielson loves Mustafa Ali. He's going to be available. So I expect more WWE guys to show up there. Is it a good thing or bad thing? That's to be seen, but I will say stop hiring more. And Khan needs to stop hiring guys. He needs to kind of focus on what he's got and bring these guys up and get these stars going, rather than relying on veteran talent who are either way past their prime or just there because of facial recognition and everybody knows who they are. And I think that's why some of these guys did come in.
I'll say this. I've watched obviously more WWE the last month than I have in I don't know how long. And people say that it's like different crowds. I know Kieran just mentioned that he's going to go to shows for both. So there's definitely people that are paying to go see both, paying to watch both on whatever platforms they're watching them on. But I think one of the biggest things that I noticed during Punk's run here is when Punk was still in AEW at the end, most cities he was going to, he was getting booed in. The cities that were around like the Chicago area, in Chicago, obviously, he was, still cheered. But for the most part, everywhere else in the U.S. and in Canada, the guy was getting mostly booed. He shows up on WWE TV, and he's getting insane pops. Not just the return pop, but like he is very over and very face. And I don't know if you guys heard what was clearly a dig at the AEW situation, but it's like most of the audience didn't fucking get what he was talking about. And I was like, okay, I know Jared's tried saying that before on here, but like, no, it really is, in terms of the majority, a different audience. And
there is a story. Sorry, I just want to interrupt because it's important to that point, but one of the reasons why that point fell so hard was almost the entire front row section in the background camera part was all a bunch of Army and Marine people. Like, it was all tribute to the troops people. And those people don't watch weekly. And those people might not know about AEW or might not even watch wrestling often at all. So that's why he said he had that jab like who would want to fight people in the backstage or whatever, and that got like almost no reaction whatsoever, even though, you know, people at home were like, that's the fucking hilarious thing ever, you know. But there was a big point that was like fell dead to the crowd because the crowd was full of Army personnel who probably don't watch every week. So sorry, I just want to interrupt because that was like a big like that was not a smart joke to put in that audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess until you see it, I think, you know, you can have anybody tell you one thing or another, but like after watching both products now the last little while, like, yeah, no, they're, for the most part, you know, they're two different audiences. Obviously there's some crossover, but yeah. Let's start here. Randy, you picked the topic tonight, booking 2024. So don't book every wrestler on the roster, obviously.
Oh, no, of course not.
But give us a couple of what you would do for maybe three of the talent. We'll go around the table and we'll all pick three guys we want to talk about. And we can duplicate too. So if you want to talk MJF and Kieran wants to talk MJF, feel free.
So first of all, it's not going to be just singular. It's going to be, let's book the women's division better. There is so much talent. Obviously, like on Collision this past week, we saw Thunder Rosa's finally going to have her in-ring return after having that back injury, which is great. We still got to get Jamie Hayter back. I don't know what's going on with Britt Baker. I don't know if it's because she still has her back injury or if they just have nothing for her. I know they just got so much talent there that we need to see more women's matches every week. At least one, at least more than one. Give me two. Some nights have three, have more than the men. Let's push them in 2024. Let's show everybody why this women's division is so talented versus, say, what you have in WWE, where it's a lot of it's the same people over and over again, but you have some talent on NXT that has yet to be called up that could make an impact, but for the most part, it's the same people. And same with kind of AEW. They're doing a lot of the same people, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help the product. If you want to get more, you want to get some more eyes on there, show why the women's division, especially when you've got people coming from New Japan and Stardom and, you know, things like that. You're bringing them over too, and you're like, I want to see a better women's division. I want to see a stronger women's division because they're being represented well. That's the first one. Secondly, I think for 2024, I think it is finally time to let's let some of the young talent breathe. I mean, you got a tag team like Top Flight. They have so much talent in them, and if any of you watched that main event on Rampage, where it was Commander Vikingo and Penta versus Top Flight and Action Andretti, holy shit, that was an absolute bonkers main event, and it was probably one of the better main events I've seen on Rampage in a long time. But they have so much talent with these young stars. They need to start booking these guys better and let some of the veterans step back a little bit. Let them take breaks. Now, granted, Christian's killing it, so I get why they've pushed him as hard as he's been. They've been pushing him. And having him and Copeland go at it, you know, it just writes itself, especially with Christian helping Adam get accustomed to AEW style in-ring performance. But there's so much young talent they keep bringing up and keep calling up and keep signing. And whether it's from Mexico or Japan or right here in the U.S., you know, we need to see more of that. So, point one, better booking of the women's division. Point two, let's start building these young stars up. And for the third one, per an individual, after watching the Continental Classic, I think it's time to really consider letting Swerve Strickland become AEW World Champion. That dude is killing it. His his feud with Hangman was amazing. You finally have Keith Lee finally coming back into the picture where he wants to finish his feud with Swerve, and so that's gonna be baller once they finally get that match out there. But he's just on the mic, in the ring. His heel persona is so good. It's time to pull the trigger and make him the face of the company, even if it's only for 3 or 4 months. Let's do it. And obviously, let's get these other people back healthy, because I think once you have all these injured stars come back, they're going to add to the product. But those are my big 3 things: better women's division, push the young kids, and let's crown Swerve the world champ, even if it's only for a few months.
Kieran?
I was definitely going to say Swerve as well. It's Swerve in 2024. It just has to be. Like, honestly, the guy, he kills it. And the thing that he has, like, he is a great wrestler. He is a great promo. 100% agree. He also doesn't have to say anything. When he walks to the ring, you're like, this guy's fucking, he's the shit. You can tell. The guy walks like he's the shit because he's the shit. Like, he like, the coat, everything. Like, everything. The way that Nana comes out and dances and he just, like, walks out like he doesn't give a shit that he even has a manager. Like, he walks in like he's an NFL star and he's got his agent beside him. He's like, yeah, people follow me. Like, everything that he is his character. I mean, I don't know if he's such an asshole, but he is his character. He comes out, he's that guy. Like, you can tell he doesn't have to put on that face. He's like, oh, this is the person I am. So, and everybody knows that's what makes the guys who they are. That's what makes, Stone Cold not the ringmaster. If he was the ringmaster, he never would have got over, but he's like, you know what? I'm also a pissed off redneck. And you're like, oh shit, like, we got something. Or The Rock being this guy and then being like, you know what? Actually, just let The Rock, like, make fun of people and come out here and, do what The Rock does. And then you're like, oh shit, he's a star. He's like, if he was Rocky Maivia doing that, bullshit that he was doing there with the streamers hanging off of him, probably never would have got there. But you get these guys who play actually a part of who they are and, put it on steroids, then, that's what it is. But so, yeah, Swerve in 2024 would have been one of my picks for sure. But to pivot, I think that I think they should have Swerve just win the title, like, out of nowhere. I think he should bribe Tony Khan or something crazy where he gets a match out of nowhere and just fucking take the title on a Dynamite and be like, it's mine now. I've thought about that and how cool I think that would be. Especially since MJF is injured. So if he could just be like, hey, I swindled myself into a match with you and then beat him in like 2 minutes because his MJF's hip is hurt. They got to bring out Will Hobbs. Will Hobbs needs to come out there and, like, he comes out there, he breaks the shit out of Jericho. He looks so mean. He's so intimidating. He's one of my favorite acts, and he's rarely on TV. The guy just, like, he doesn't just have the look muscle-wise. He's got that scowl on his face. He totally looks like he doesn't care. They need to, I wouldn't even put a title on him. I'd have him go around being like, I don't give a shit about titles. I like beating the shit out of people. Just have him come out and absolutely destroy people till he gets to the top. And I would have him on TV way more often. Even if it was on TV, beating people up or whatever, and then, being on a pay-per-view to actually have a match. Really like him. I actually don't feel the same way about the women's division as everyone does. I think I don't see a ton of strength there. I see there's like a few good performers, and then there's a lot of girls who don't have a character and don't really know how to promote themselves. So the wrestling is good, but I wouldn't lean on them as much as a lot of people. And I know I'm in the minority here, And I wouldn't be upset if they started having 3 women's division matches on every Dynamite or whatever, but I don't see it as much as other people do. I think they have, Tony Storm's a star. I like where they're going with Julia Hart. I think they should use Nyla Rose way more. I don't know why she's never around, but she's a monster. So, and I think she plays her part really well. But I don't see it as much as other people. Jack Perry should be head of, no, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to bring that up for Sean. Jack Perry, number 1. I think they do need to, honestly, I think pretty much everything that Randy thought. He kind of stole all of my stuff that I always said. Same thing. Get all the pillars back up there. Bring Sammy Guevara something special. I mean, obviously he's a little busy right now, but have Jack Perry come back and continue his heel run, because I thought he was just starting to get going. Have all of these young guys come be an important part of the show all the time. Takeshita should be on TV all the time. He's awesome. He's a great wrestler, and he doesn't need to talk because he's got Don Callis, and he's awesome on the mic. One thing that I would like to say that has nothing to do with any specific wrestler is I think, and I know a lot of people don't like these either, so it might not be a great opinion for everybody, but I think they need to do something that's almost company-wide storyline-wise, like an NWO type of thing, or whatever, something that involves almost every wrestler where they have to pick sides, or, not a lot of people like the invasion angle in WWE either, but mostly because it was pulled off not very well. Or I think just to kind of bring new people into it, new fans in, I think they need a angle that goes after a lot of wrestlers, like a lot of good guys, a lot of bad guys, and kind of bring them at each other for some sort of reason. Because I think people who just start watching AEW because Adam Copeland's here and be like, oh, I like Edge. I don't really like this AEW stuff, but I'm going to watch it because I like Edge. I want to see Edge and Christian's first match together, something like that. I think they need an angle that kind of shows new fans who come in like, hey, these are the 5 biggest good guys and these are the 5 biggest bad guys. And, they're doing this together right now, so that people can kind of see the show and be like, oh, okay, yeah, those guys are kind of cool. And those guys are I think something big that involves a lot of the roster would really capture some of those people who are coming over just to watch. Say they signed Drew McIntyre and everyone's like, oh, I don't like this flippy dippy bullshit, but I really like Drew McIntyre, so I'll watch him. Pay attention and get something really all-inclusive that or if they did a Dynamite versus Collision, maybe Dynamite guys and Collision guys get separate and then decide that, they want to fight each other, and they could something that just kind of makes it more gives a restart and gives general audience people a reason to tune in.
Yeah, no, I think that you hit the nail on the head there in terms of having something to capture just your average going audience, right? Because that's where AEW lacks. It's not the diehards; they have plenty of those. It's WWE's general audience, because of half a century head start, is way bigger than AEW's general audience.
Well, for example, now that I just think of it, like the BCC thing, when BCC was fighting the Elite, that could have gone on for way longer, in my opinion. I mean, they could have, it would have been hard to keep it going forever, but I think if they would have done that angle while Copeland came over and people just came to watch Edge, and they had, these are the 5 mean, assholes, and a few of them from WWE, most of them from WWE, they're fighting the the fresh AEW guys who you don't really know, and then Like if that was going on for Copeland's first run or first showing up in AEW, I think that would have been great if they kind of crossed over more, because it was a really easy thing to go. Like, oh, these BCC guys think they're the biggest badasses, and these are the AEW guys who kind of represent the company, and they're fighting each other. Like, really easy sort of story involving lots of big names that they need to promote to casual fans.
It's interesting because, like, word is the Elite have been written off TV, specifically the Bucks, and that they're going to come back as heels and play into the whole, backstage nonsense to try to make some money off of all the bullshit that happened. And it seems like WWE is doing the same thing with Punk. And I can't help but sit here and go, man, like, say what you want of all the bullshit that happened, but if they ever could have found a way to fucking put the business first after that, you could have had not necessarily a company-wide storyline, but the type of storyline that all eyes are on, that you stretch out for some time. It didn't need to be some one-off that's done at a pay-per-view. It had some legs there. So hopefully whatever both companies do with all individuals involved, there's still some payoff from that event. For me, I'll go and then Matt can give his. For me, it's this. Like, do I think that Swerve is the devil? Probably not. But I think when you look at individually who's the hottest star in the company right now, I think it is Swerve. I don't think it's MJF at the moment. I think it's been MJF for a long time. But like you guys were saying, Swerve for 2024. To me, the AEW Devil storyline, which is starting to get a little stale because it comes and goes and comes and goes. I think we know Wardlow's in it. Like, they screwed that up. Like, Wardlow's in it unless they're going to make it out to be someone else. If you're having some, devil stable where Swerve Strickland's like your leader here, who's going to go for the title, and you have Wardlow, who, like him or not, he has potential. He was showing that before. Depending on who the other guys are, you could have something maybe not NWO-ish there, but something along those lines, and do something big with that. Like, I think if you made Swerve the devil at this point, again, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it would be believable. I think he'd be a perfect guy to set the company on fire. And frankly, Swerve Strickland is a way better talent and has way more potential than Jack Perry does in terms of leading a the storyline for a company. To me, I see Jack Perry as like a middle card guy.
How dare you, sir? No, I've never really heard of that idea, and I think it's awesome. So,
no, I'd definitely be down for Swerve being the devil. That would be something he would do. It really would be, but also, given his character, he just comes right at you. He's the guy that comes right at you. So it would be a hell of a quote unquote swerve if it really was him as the devil. But hopefully at World's End, what the next pay-per-view at World's End, I hope that's going to be. That's when we get the reveal, and then we can go into 2024 fresh and get excited for Will Ospreay's debut and things like that.
Matt, how would you book a couple of guys next year?
Well, I hate to keep on bringing it up, but it's the truth. The women. I think the women are vastly underutilized with the talent they have. It almost seems like they've kind of faded off of what's made them strong. And like Britt. I'm not the biggest fan of what Tony Storm's doing, but I understand it sells. This is my personal opinion. But yeah, the females need to get a little more love from Tony, and there's some untapped potential. They got some girls there who are hungry that they just need a shot. I'm just gonna just some people real quick, my quick thoughts and everything. Nothing. I'd like to see another Hangman push. I'm a big Hangman fan, and I think he should be back in the title hunt along with Swerve. Swerve is I mean, I think you're right, Sean. Swerve is the star right now. Swerve is the must see with what he's doing, his approach in the ring. He tells it's for me, wrestling is telling a story in a physical nature. And I think he's probably one of the best I've ever seen do it. And he's just being underutilized to a degree. So I think Swerve as the Devil would be an excellent angle to play. That makes a lot of sense. Also, I think Sammy Guevara needs to be pushed back into the main event stuff again. I mean, like I said, there's so many unused talent that's being just wasted, and it's like we didn't. Man, we got to see this match again each week. And you've always got those one or two matches that are just like, man, not this again. And you find that in WWE, and you find that on AEW. And I think AEW has a chance to right a lot of their wrongs in 2024. The talent is there, pure and simple. They've got the talent to make, to go up against AEW, WWE.
Oh, God.
I think they had the talent to go
Right.
up against
From
a talent perspective.
I think that's the biggest fucking thing people get wrong here. I prefer AEW over WWE.
I do too.
But one company is losing 30 or 40 million a year, and the other company's making an ungodly amount of money each year. One company.
Well, I mean, that's number one, because it goes back to my whole angle with Tony. Tony's the root of all of this. And I mean, like I said, honestly, you could put Swerve against almost everybody and WWE, most. And it would be, he would fit in like a glove. And it would be great. I mean, and they've got that homegrown talent, but Tony just needs to learn how to use them better, have a better use of their time, and on the shows and everything, tell the story better.
We'll see if 2024 brings any of those changes that you're hoping for. Kieran, Randy, you guys want to get in anything else on the AEW 2024 front before I bring up one more topic before we get out of here?
So when it comes to AEW versus WWE and the comparison thing, yeah, it's ludicrous that anyone is like they're head-to-head competitors. WWE is a entertainment company that's been around for a million years. They probably make more money off of their stuff they sell to Peacock, like their ridiculous library that everybody watches. Like everybody who is into AEW still wants to go back and watch WrestleMania, 13, Bret Hart and Stone Cold. Like we still love that stuff, even if we don't like the current product at all. We want to go back and watch old WrestleManias, and the reason we liked wrestling in the first place, probably for most people. And they sell so much in so many other ways. They even though WWE, reportedly the last few people that have bought Raw SmackDown and like Fox have been unhappy. They still got a ridiculous amount of money for that, and they're still going to get ridiculous amounts of money for Raw again. Like it's not comparable in any way to say, oh, like AEW versus WWE. Like they are two vastly different companies who do really different things and are at really different stages in their lifespan or whatever you want to call it. So like the WWE versus AEW stuff is like just insane. But as a company, AEW, we'll see what happens with this deal because, like I said, the TV deal is really important. But, Dynamite has a steady, really good viewership and is number one on Wednesdays often enough when it's not, against a big basketball game or whatever. Like their TV ratings, like in a regular scope, are good, just not in the like, oh, well, it didn't score as much as Raw on or SmackDown on Fox. And you're like, okay, well, AEW's not on Fox. Like it's whatever. Like the comparison stuff is really silly. That's all I have to say. But it is important. Like it is important that AEW move forward, get bigger crowds, do well, and I hope they do that. But people saying they're going to be gone in a year because they don't, get 1 million viewers are also kind of silly. So I don't know. Just people need to know what they don't know.
Randy, how about you?
So just a couple things. So Matt, I know you're talking about Swerve and how he'd fit well with WWE. Well, if that was the case, they never should have cut him in the first place. That was definitely a faux pas for them. There's a couple of guys people they've released that it's coming back to bite them.
Some honestly, of that is Vince McMahon's doing.
Oh yeah, for sure. If Drew Galloway decides to sign with AEW, if he doesn't return to WWE, I'm going to look forward to Drew versus Hobbs and Drew versus Wardlow. Just Drew versus, reintroduce Drew to Claudio. I mean, like his hard-hitting matches is something that AEW is lacking. If you guys watched Powerhouse Hobbs versus Miro at All Out, the chance that particular match got was amazing because the entire crowd just kept on chanting meat over and over again. And that's something that AEW is definitely missing, is just big men slapping man meat. That's something that, those are good matches if you have the right people in place for those. I think the biggest thing that AEW went away from that they should go back to is the ranking system. The ranking system was when it was first utilized, was done so well, and it gave meaning to the wins and losses. And unfortunately, when they got away from that, it was WWE syndrome where it's like, I want a title match. You got it. We need to get away from that in 2024. Bring back the ranking system. Have another annual Continental Classic. Hell, have another tournament of some sort other than, the Owen Hart Memorial Cup and the Continental Classic. Give us another tournament that just, maybe, earns. Not like, similar to WrestleMania with the Rumble, but just have, a tournament where you earn a title shot at All Out or Full Gear or something like that. Just do things differently than WWE in some respects. But when you do the things different, focus on what you do well. And one thing that these guys have been really killing are the tournaments, because we're getting these banger matches from opponents that normally don't face each other, and they're just going out there and they're killing it. And bring back the rankings for all the titles, not just the world title and the tag title, but have your ranking system for the TNT title and the TBS women's title and things like that. And I will say, For the wrestler, the AEW wrestler of the year has to be Orange Cassidy, because dude has been killing it this year. I mean, he's the first, if I remember correctly, he's the first AEW wrestler to win 50 matches in a calendar year. That's pretty impressive. So he's just been going nonstop.
He really proved too. This was the year where they did what we want them to do with all the young guys, because he did have this big thing with Moxley. We're like, well, he won't beat Moxley because people don't normally beat Moxley clean, like not very often. And I think that feud pushed him up, and you're like, he's a credible guy. He's not just pockets guy. He can beat the top guys. So that was I think that's kind of what me and Randy and Jared are looking for out of all these other guys, is like Orange Cassidy just proved he could go on and probably win a world title. Like we saw him beat Moxley. Moxley could have the title. He could have beat Moxley for the title. It wasn't for a title, but that's what we want all these young guys to do. Go up and beat the established guys. Like, so yeah, that OC killed it. I agree.
I don't know if it'll happen, but like, give me Swerve versus Orange Cassidy for the World Championship sometime in 24.
That'd be amazing.
Everybody want to see what I got in my booster pack of AEW Allure?
Oh God. Brawl out card.
Oh God.
Card.
Max Caster.
Yeah,
These guys got to get on TV more, and with the AEW tag team belts again. Sorry?
There's a 24 thing. More of them and less belts. Let's eliminate like half the fucking belts.
More of this guy. This is a double. Do you want me to give? I'll save this for Jade. I know she likes this guy.
I can't even make it out. Sorry, the glare is bad.
Sorry, it's Danhausen.
Oh, is it? Oh God, that's cool.
Yeah, these are all shiny cards. I got a Sting parallel. I got a Christian Cage gold card. I got a weird die-cut Layla Hirsch card. And Cash Wheeler.
Nice.
You know, just for fun.
Have we lost
I saw
Matt?
it at Walmart, and I was like, I'll pick up one.
I think Matt passed out again.
All I'm going to say is do not fuck up Sting's retirement match. Do not mess that up. Do not have Flair screw him over.
Don't have Ric Flair
like that.
Don't have Ric Flair anywhere near that.
Just don't have Ric Flair there at all anymore. Come on. All right. Well, I'm gonna Matt message the private chat if you're still awake. You look asleep to me. He's okay. Yeah. Let's move him off of here.
He died.
All right. Last topic. It looks like for WrestleMania that we're gearing up for a double main event of Punk versus Seth and Roman versus Cody. Now that could change. Takes one phone call to change that, and God knows what direction. Takes one injury to change that, and God knows what direction. Matt magically woke up. He's in the green room now, pretending he didn't just fall asleep. My question is this. So there's only so many things that you can do to get someone to the main event at WrestleMania, storyline-wise. You can win the Royal Rumble, and I believe they do the Elimination Chamber match after that, which I think is like overseas or something this year. So my question is, if that's your double main event, one, does Punk and Seth have to be for the title? Or do you think they're going to take it off of him? And would you take it off of Seth and just do Punk versus Seth? So does that mean Punk wins the Rumble or Punk wins Elimination Chamber? Cody won the Rumble last year. I are the only repeat winners right now Austin and help me out here, Michaels?
Michaels, yeah. Wasn't Hulk Hogan? Didn't Hulk Hogan do it as well, or something like that?
Did he?
I don't know.
Back to back?
Anyways,
Anyway, so yeah, like, what do you do here? Do you have Cody win the Rumble and Punk win Elimination Chamber, or vice versa? Or is there a way you can get one of those two guys to one of those main event matches against one of the champions without one of those two matches? Or is it pretty ironclad?
I don't think Cody has to win the Rumble to get to Roman. But I think if that storyline needs to start gearing up a little bit, if that's where we're heading. I think it's probably going to be for the belt with Seth and Punk. Does it have to be? No. I think they can put on an awesome match without the belt involved. I mean, you could put the belt on Drew. I mean, that's interesting. And then you have so many different storylines you could go with that. With Drew. And whoever. But yeah, that's my take on it.
I do think Matt's right. I think it would, if we're saying, hey, who wins the Chamber, who wins the Rumble, probably makes way more sense to Punk to win the Rumble, and something where he just needs to come in number 26, a giant pop for him. He's in the Final Four. He throws out a few guys. They're not going to do Punk, starts number 2 and wrestles for an hour. That would be really careless of WWE to do to CM Punk. But there's a lot of guys who come in at the end to win it. Sorry?
Let's go right back to the situation that got you out of here. Welcome back.
Yeah. And then, it doesn't make sense to put him in Elimination Chamber, which is one of the easiest way to injure your superstars. Like everyone comes out of that match hurt. They try to do really stupid stuff with that steel chamber and the doors and all that stuff. Like, not a smart idea either. You can have Cody do that because he's young and strong, and even though he does get injured like all other human beings, he's pretty goddamn tough. So I think, Cody winning the Chamber and Punk coming in and just getting that huge Rumble pop, because the Rumble adds a little bit to pops anyways. So I think having him come in, even if he comes in like number 20 or something like that, and is in there for 20 minutes is fine. But having him come in there, get that pop, and win the Rumble, which is a little bit more prestigious, I think makes way more sense. And I don't know if they do. Sorry?
I thought you were going to stop before I said, and real quick, go ahead, finish your thought.
I never stop, Matt. I never stop. I only pause. Sometimes I pause and go like, oh, other people need to talk. And then sometimes I don't, and I go on for half an hour. That's it, though. Yeah, Cody win the Chamber, Punk win the Rumble makes sense to me.
Now, I can see Roman saying, you win the Elimination Chamber, I'll give you your shot. And Cody has to be the first one out. Then he's going to make it hard for Cody to get back, and Cody's going to.
Isn't it just you win the Chamber and get a shot at the other title that's not in the main event, or is it not that way?
No, it's just whoever wins it wins it.
It's usually been whoever, it usually ends up being whoever wins the Chamber gets the match at the guy who didn't get picked. Like, quite often that happens. I don't know if it's stipulated that always happens, but it has
it's not written
happened a lot.
Right, yeah, it's not written in stone, that's the way it's supposed to be, but that's usually the way it ends up.
Randy?
So I do think at some point, I don't know if it's going to be before WrestleMania or after WrestleMania, Rollins is going to lose the title. I don't think it's going to be Punk. I think that cash in is going to happen with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and that's how he's going to lose the belt. Whether it's pre-WrestleMania or not, that's to be seen. I do feel like you do have Punk against Rollins, but yeah, because if it's for the title, then you have a dilemma. Do you just let the new guy that just came in win it, or does he actually put Rollins over? I mean, that's kind of the $1 million question here. But thinking about it, I do think the Rumble would Punk winning the Rumble would make the most sense, just because of the pop you're going to get. Not that you're not getting a loud pop with Cody winning it, but I think with him being the new hotness essentially, where he's just everybody's behind him right now, it makes sense to have him come out and win it. And Cody will get his match against Reigns somehow. I do think this year he's gonna quote unquote finish his story, and luckily I'll be there when it happens. So now here, interesting, you guys brought up multiple winners. So guys who won it twice: Hogan in 90-91, Shawn Michaels 95-96, Triple H 2002-2016, Batista 2005-2014, Cena 2008-2013, and Orton in 2009 and 2017. Stone Cold is the only 3-time winner of the Rumble.
So the only ones that have done it back-to-back, though, would be Hogan, HBK, Austin.
Yep, because Austin did it in 97-98 for his back-to-back.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it was me and things are going well backstage, I mean, it's early days, but if he's fulfilling his end of the deal, I'd have Punk win. I mean, the dude just moved $600,000 in merch in one day when he was hired. It's fucking nuts. It's bananas. Certainly didn't get any of my money. But for whatever reason, he's super hot again. And I would go with it because, 5 months from now, he might punch someone out for having dark roast coffee and catering. So I get it when you can. That being said, if he's not going to win the Rumble, God, I hope he gets screwed in some way, like some unfair fashion where someone's been eliminated but comes back in, or someone's not in the match, eliminates him again. The next night on Raw, we get his Bret Hart 97 promo of him just losing it about being screwed. Give me that. I'd be down for that.
I mean, there's enough guys in the back that supposedly aren't happy to see him back that anybody could, there could be anybody could do it. Drew could do it. I mean, Kevin Owens could do it. So it's not out of the question of someone potentially screwing him over. So we'll see. I mean, that's the beauty of the Rumble, though. Anything and everything can happen, and usually there's a few surprises along the way, which is what makes it entertaining.
It'll be
good. I don't know how that... Go ahead.
I think last year, pretty much everybody thought that Cody was going to win. Like, it wasn't really like the Rumbles where it's like there's 3 guys that could possibly win it, and this one guy is really probably going to win it. But there are Rumbles where you're like 6 or 7 guys I can see possibility, and there's 3 guys that really deserve it. So this one should be a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on Punk winning. I know that seems like the obvious choice because he's the hot name that's back, and I'd do it, but I can see them doing something where he gets screwed, or like Randy just brought up, there's a bunch of people storyline wise where you can tell they're like, what the fuck's this guy doing here? where maybe he's in a spot in the match where there's like 7 guys in the ring and just him, and he gets thrown out by them. They just gang up on him and he gets all pissy about it. I really think in terms of the hints we've gotten so far, they, whether some of their audience knows about it or not, are definitely feeding off of the, the him backstage shit. Like the Seth Rollins promo with him is literally the Hangman promo. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. I would not be putting money on him winning at Mania, which makes me think maybe it won't be a main event and it won't be for the title. I also think if it's for the title, you're making the match predictable, because I don't think they put the world or one of the world titles on Punk just a few months into his stay with the company. Like maybe they would. I mean, I think if I was to ask everybody in this room 2 months ago if they thought Punk was going to be at Survivor Series, I think most of our answers would have been no. I sure as hell didn't think he'd be there. I think a lot of people were thinking TNA or bust at this point. So who knows? I mean, they'll do what they choose, but I just don't see him winning the Rumble. I want him to, but I don't see him. So I hope they find a way to do something creative. Any final wrestling thoughts, fellas, before we get out of here for the night?
I guess for me, it's just, not that, he watches, but it's like, rest up, Kenny, get well. Can't wait to see you back in the ring. I can't wait for Ospreay and Omega 3, whenever that finally ever happens, because that's going to be, those two have such great chemistry in the ring, and they tell such an amazing story. It's such a shame that Omega had, tried to work through that injury, not even injury, just the illness. And if they hadn't caught it when they did, I don't even know what happened. So let's just rest up. Hopefully he gets better soon.
I still haven't watched Ospreay Omega 2 on video. I was there for it, and it's so special to me that I don't want to watch it and then find out it wasn't as amazing as like in person. I thought it was the greatest match I've ever seen. Now I don't want to watch it on video. I'm scared.
I can understand that. Being there is definitely something special.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And they booed the shit out of CM Punk.
They did.
Sorry, we booed the shit out of CM Punk. My friend beside me was wearing a CM Punk shirt, so he wasn't, but I was.
I've watched that entrance back a few times. He definitely soaks it all into when he's strutting across the ring before he does his little hands out thing, and the atmosphere seemed unreal. Would have been fun to be there.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And it was funny. There was CM Punk chants there, but they just died really quickly. Like, people kept trying to throw a chant out there, and it would last 3 CM Punks, and then everyone would be like, "Fuck that shit! Get out of here!" It was really hostile right after people would try it. It was pretty funny in person. It was funny. The funny thing is, at Collision, it was like a 50-50. Because people were there and they were like, "Oh yeah, this is the CM Punk show," but at Forbidden Door, people were like, "Yeah."
You guys started booing before the music even started. On the broadcast, I don't know if you've watched that match back or not, but you guys start booing before Cult of Personality even hits, and Taz is just like, they're already booing him, and his music hasn't.
That was pretty awesome. That's a good memory too, buddy.
I love those types of atmospheres. I used to love when Bret Hart would get booed out of the building. So I wish it would have lasted longer.
Oh,
man. Matt, what about you? Sleepy Matt McGee. You have a final wrestling thought before we get out of here? Last show before Christmas too, by the way. So happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah. Tony Khan. Stay out of the goddamn way.
Oh my God, for fuck's sake.
Broken record over here.
Yeah, I just
he's the comment section on Facebook alive, or as alive as he is right now.
I'm looking forward to the Royal Rumble. You know, I'm looking forward to AEW, seeing what comes with what they have. I'm not too worried about the MJF stuff. As far as I know, Fightful seems to think he re-signed like a year ago. So if they think he re-signed, he re-signed. But yeah, it's good wrestling ahead, and if Punk can at least not get fired until after the Royal Rumble, so I can see him in a Royal Rumble match, that would be great. So, other than that, happy holidays. We'll see you next time. Stay safe and enjoy. Merry Christmas.